Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Superhero Gamer, and today we're doing a priority tier list for epic characters in DC Worlds Collide. So make sure you stay tuned and watch this till the end because a lot of this is extremely important. You don't want to be wasting your resources anywhere, and mainly this is to help guide you into like which characters are really worth your investment. All right, so the first character is going to be Bane. Bane, I would say, is maybe a third priority. He doesn't really have a whole lot of uses in the game besides like your Crisis Watch. He's really good against the Suicide Squad, Crisis Watch, but not really a super big priority in building. You do, if you are like running the AoE/crit team, you are going to want to build him up, but definitely not one of your first priorities in the game. He can definitely come a little bit later or maybe towards the end, right before you get to Endgame, and that way it'll give you a better chance to like really start progressing in the Crisis Watch. You really want to make sure you're getting your Crisis Watch done and getting all those rewards unlocked. But so Bane's going to be our third priority in the list of priorities. Up next, we have Batman. So Batman is obviously really good. But I would have to say he's more of an end game priority for most people. He just really doesn't come to life until you get him like really high up into badges, and his ranking has to be pretty high too. He will help you out quite a bit in the very beginning of the game, but as for like building him first or second or third, not really. He's more of an end game priority. He's really going to shine against like Evil Falls bosses and things like that. So, if you are investing in Batman, it's not a bad idea. You are going to be using him for end game, but there are other characters that you're going to want to invest in first before you start doing Batman. So Bizarro is an interesting one. I would say Bizarro, if you're not running a debuff team, Bizarro's probably like a third priority. He is a fairly decent tank in the game. He's mainly used as like an off tank. But his primary goal is either like on a burn team, like if you're just running like a traditional burn team and not a Mr. T burn team, or if you're running a debuff team. I think he fits really well into a debuff team and does a lot for them as well. But he's definitely like your third priority. He's not super important in the very beginning of the game. He will come alive once you start getting your debuff team ready to go, which the debuff team requires Sinestro. So if you don't have Sinestro, you're probably not building the debuff team. If you are building like a traditional burn team, you're probably going to want to build him. But as far as like list of priorities, he's definitely like a third priority in the priority tier list. Now, Bloodsport. So I remember in the very beginning of the game, I suggested everybody build Bloodsport for their block team. But Bloodsport realistically just isn't very good anymore. He just doesn't do anything that we don't already have in the game, and he doesn't do it better than anybody else. He's just not a very good investment for you. So if you are investing into Bloodsport, I suggest you stop and start focusing on maybe some of the higher priority characters. I just don't think Bloodsport really has a place in the game right now. And even though he does fit on the block team, he doesn't really benefit them a whole lot. Now, for Cheshire. Okay, so Cheshire, or Cheshire. I think people call her Cheshire. I think that's her name. I call her Cheshire because I'm illiterate. But so as far as priorities, I would say Cheshire is a second priority. So once you have your first main team built, you're going to want to build up Cheshire for the for like single target damage. She's really useful in a lot of Evil Falls bosses. Does really high attack. She's very good in PvP as well. If you don't put her up against a Wonder Woman, she's going to perform very well. But yeah, she's definitely a character that you're going to want to invest into pretty early on. I wouldn't say she's going to be one of the first characters that you invest in, but definitely one of the first epics that you're actually going to invest in right after you get that main team started. All right, up next is Constantine. Constantine, I would say, is a #1 priority. You can get his shards fairly easy. They still have the 7-day login where you get him for free, and then you also get another copy of him at the end of your first month playing. So everybody should have like a rank 8 Constantine like right off the bat if you're still playing the game. Constantine just does massive amounts of damage. He's really good. He's got his ultimate does so much damage that it can like basically like ruin a team. He's gonna help you and carry you through quite a bit of stages. If he doesn't go on your first team, he's probably going to go on your second team. Constantine is just an amazing character right now, and still has very, very many uses in the endgame as well. So can't go wrong with investing in Constantine. Up next is Dr. Phosphorus. Okay, so Dr. Phosphorus is very, very interesting. If you're building a burn team, I feel like Dr. Phosphorus is going to be a must. He just does so much healing on his from his badge, and then he does a butt ton of damage as well. And then every time somebody detonates, he's healing himself. Like, he's going to be a very good frontline DPS for your burn team. So very good. However, I feel like there's more important characters than Dr. P right in the beginning of the game. So he's definitely going to be on your third priority. He is going to be used in that, either that traditional burn team or a Mr. T burn team. Very useful all around. So definitely want to invest in Dr. Phosphorus. Like the closer you get to endgame, but not really like too late, you do kind of want to get him up and ready to go. Especially if you are planning on running some type of burn team, Dr. Phosphorus is definitely going to help you out quite a bit. Gorilla Grodd. Okay, so there's not very many good tanks in the game. So I would say Gorilla Grodd. So if you're running a debuff team, Gorilla Grodd's going to be a first priority. He's one of the 3 staples of the debuff team, and you need to run him, Sinestro, and Raven together. So if you are running a debuff team, he is a first priority. If you're not, he's definitely going to be a second priority for you. So I feel like most people, especially if you're just starting the game now, you're not going to have Sinestro. So a second priority as, another tank that you can use is going to be very, very useful. He's pretty solid, but extremely, extremely good in that debuff team that you're really going to want to use, especially as you get towards the end of the game. He's going to become very, very useful. But I would say he's a second priority. I would match him. I would start building him like right after you complete your first team. He's just a very solid tank that you can throw on pretty much any team, and he'll do his job well, but ultimately really shines on that debuff team. Okay, so Green Arrow. He does fall off quite a bit towards endgame. Is not very useful towards endgame, but at the very beginning of the game, I think Green Arrow is a great carry character, especially if you're still waiting for your Wonder Woman. Green Arrow does a butt ton of damage and is really gonna help propel your account into further stages of the game. In the very, very beginning, as you get towards the end game area, he falls off quite a bit and he doesn't really have much uses. But I still think building him early on in your game, or as you're progressing, he's really going to help boost your account quite a bit. So Green Arrow, I would say, is definitely a first priority. Yeah. Now, Guy Gardner. So Guy Gardner, oof. So I really like Guy. I'm starting to like him a lot more now than I did when he first came out. And that's because I didn't think I really understood what he was supposed to be doing or like how much he benefited. Again, though, if you're not running a Mr. T team, Guy is kind of useless. And even if you are running a Mr. T team, Guy is only there because you don't have another character. However, for the end game, I believe that Guy is extremely, extremely good for League Challenge. He completely dominates the Parademons. If you guys don't know this by now, use Guy in Parademons, you'll see exactly what I mean. He's amazing there. But really, the only use we're getting out of him right now is the Parademons League Challenge. Other than that, like you're only using him on a Mr. T team if you don't have other characters. So up next is Jessica. So I have a beef with Jessica, right? I'm pretty sure everybody knows that I have a beef with Jessica. I don't typically like Jessica because I feel like she's a very selfish character, and I don't feel like she's going to be able to do enough damage towards the end of the game. I mean, you can ask around and see how other people feel about her, but me particularly, I don't like Jessica. Now, in the beginning of the game, I would say she's definitely a second priority. She does do quite a bit of damage, like in the earlier stages of the game, where like your opponents aren't super tanky and don't really hit back row very hard. So like she's probably going to be a second priority in the earlier stages of the game, and then if you do feel like you like really like her towards the end of the game, I'm sure you can use her in certain situations in certain places. But I don't like Jessica, but I do think she is pretty good, especially for like newer players who just need, you know, a really good damage dealer, especially in the earlier stages of the game. Like I said, I think she falls off a little bit at endgame. I could be completely wrong about this, but Jessica, I'm just not really feeling her like super a lot. But I definitely think she can be very, very useful in the beginner stages of the game, especially if you're running like a Mr. T team. So we're going to have Jessica in second priority. Again, she's not going to be like on the first team you build, but possibly the second team or maybe the third team that you build. John Stewart. So John Stewart, I believe now he is a first priority. He is quite possibly the best tank in the game. There has been a little debate between him and Nightwing going on. I think John Stewart, it might be better than Nightwing at this point. He just does... he just is so good. He does a lot of counterattacks, which, you know, spreads out a lot of damage across the enemy teams. He's super tanky. He just doesn't die, especially if you've seen him in like Elite Arena and stuff. Very, very good tank. And you really can't go wrong with having him on your team. So I believe that John Stewart is definitely a first priority. You're definitely going to want to build him almost as soon as you get him. I do recommend him for the block team, and we can debate about that at another time, but I do think he benefits the block team very, very well. You know, he's super tanky. His counterattacks do massive amounts of damage. Once you get him up to like badge 30, he becomes like almost unkillable. It's absolutely insane. So, and even before that, I feel like John is absolutely insane. So John, definitely a first priority to build. Judo Master. Okay, so Judo Master is interesting to me. I like Judo Master quite a bit. I would say he's maybe like a third priority. Like you're not going to build him first on like your first teams or your second teams, but like he could definitely be extremely useful in a third team. Him, Vigilante, and Peacemaker do massive amounts of damage against like Evil Falls bosses. But I still think he has a lot of use like in campaign and stuff too. So he could definitely be on like a third team for you, especially if you're running some type of armor break team. I think that would be really good. Definitely not like the first. He's definitely not one of the characters like you're first going to build, or even like the second team you're going to build. You're probably not going to use him, but I think he's definitely good for a third team. And then he shines quite a bit at endgame as well. So I think Judo Master is a solid, you know, third priority for you guys. Kid Flash. So Kid Flash is super useful early on. However, he doesn't really have much use the later stages you climb through the game. Like his healing's a little subpar. Like he'll heal somebody all the way up. But the thing is, it's like it's only a single person heal, as we're getting to the point now where everybody has like some type of life steal on their kit, or they have or like the other healer on the team is doing like AoE healing that's healing the whole team. So his value is kind of fallen off for me. At this point, I want to say like Kid Flash is probably going to be more for endgame. He completely destroys the that one guy, Death. It's an Evil Falls boss, Death something. Deathstorm, I think his name is, but he completely like makes that fight like invalid. Like that his heal is just so much. But that's pretty much the only real use we're getting him out of the game right now is using him in that Evil's Falls boss. So definitely for endgame, you're gonna want to build him up. But as far as like your first, second, or third team, probably not so much. Mara. Okay, so Mara. So if you have Aquaman, Mara becomes like a first or second priority. And if you don't have Aquaman, you just don't invest in Mara. Mara is not a good standalone character. She needs Aquaman to really do her thing. But yeah, like, so if you are running, you know, the sacrifice team, or if you're running Aquaman in any sort of form, then Mara, like, her priority goes up, probably to like second. I don't know if I would put her as a first priority, maybe a second priority or even a third. But like, if you don't have Aquaman, her value significantly drops. So I would just say, if you don't have Aquaman, she's going to be a don't invest. If you have Aquaman, probably a second or third priority for you guys. Mr. T. Mr. T. Mr. T. Mr. T is definitely going to be a first priority, especially if you plan on running Mr. T's team with DCU Superman and Guy Gardner, or maybe some of the other superpower damage characters. But once you get Mr. T to rank 10, any team that does debuffs against the Mr. T's team is significantly going to like be at a disadvantage because of the way he cleanses and then like transfers all those debuffs and then heals everybody. I'm still using him right now at endgame, I'm close to endgame. I wouldn't say I'm technically at endgame yet, but I'm really, really close. Mr. T, just another phenomenal character. Definitely one of the first characters you're going to want to like prioritize when building out teams. If you're not running a Mr. T team, I mean, you're kind of falling behind here because Mr. T is just, that team is just so incredible and so flexible with the other 2 units or the other 3 units it can run. It's just amazing. But you are going to need DCU Superman to really get the most out of Mr. T. Nightwing, definitely a first priority. He is the block team, so the block team is the first team that I recommend. And Nightwing is on that team. He's basically like the staple of that team. A lot of the other characters you can flex around, but him and Ocean Master on the block team are definitely going to be like the first 2 characters you want to prioritize when you start building your account. Nightwing, not much I can say about him. He's just a phenomenal tank, doesn't die, blocks a lot of damage. Like, it takes a lot to take down a very well-built Nightwing. So you can't really go wrong with building out Nightwing. Ocean Master, same. Now, Ocean Master, he's definitely going to be your back row character for the block team. But once you get him to rank 10, I mean, the healing for the block team just becomes phenomenal. Every time they block, they're going to heal, and he does really well with Nightwing. They're kind of a pair, if we're being honest. So basically, Nightwing will counter, and Ocean Master will then, or Nightwing will block, and then Ocean Master will counter, and basically that's basically the whole team. And so like these 2 like are definitely the first 2 characters like you want to build in the game. Everything else can kind of wait. You want to get these 2 to rank 10 as soon as possible. Pandora for me is probably a first priority. So, like, until you can get Nightwing and Ocean Master to rank 10 and badge 25, like, Pandora is going to be a staple in the block team. She just does AoE healing. Basically, will heal your entire team up from, like, the brink of death, which is amazing. So, I'm going to have to say Pandora is definitely a first priority for me. You're definitely going to want to build her, like, as you're building the rest of the block team. Her shards are pretty available as well. So the only thing you got to do is you got to get that initial copy of her, and then you can start farming like all 3 of these characters. You can get their shards on a daily basis. So getting these 3 characters is definitely a no-brainer for me, especially when building out the block team. Poison Ivy. So Poison Ivy is interesting. She does a lot of back row damage. Let's see. does a lot of back row damage. Basically can nuke a back row. I would say she's like a, let's see, she's better than these guys right here. I'd say she's better than Jessica too. So I would say like a second priority. She might not fit on like one of your teams like right off the bat, but there's always going to be like a place for Poison Ivy just because of the amount of damage she can do, especially in the earlier stages of the game. She just like completely nukes back lines. So she's very, very good to invest into. Probably a second priority though. Like you definitely want to focus on more of these characters first before you start focusing on your second priorities. Raven. Okay, so Raven, Raven's very, very good inside of the debuff team. She's also a very good flex unit as well. Her revive alone, like, really can be a game changer sometimes. I would say Raven's going to be a first priority for me. If you guys, have Raven, you should really start using her. She's very, very good. Once you get her to like rank 10 and badge 30, she just becomes phenomenal, especially on the debuff team. And you really can't go wrong with investing in Raven. She's always that really solid support that, can actually change the tides of some of your battles. Red Hood. So we're not really sure. I'm not really sure, actually. Red Hood, I guess maybe like an endgame priority, but like, I don't know, because he's not better than Batman. He's not better than Cheshire. He's a single target damage dealer that basically runs off crit. And crit is kind of like super hard to build early game. But by the time you get to end game, you should have some good crit gear and maybe some crit pieces for the comms or the necklace. But I think Red Hood might be really good for end game. I'm still building him out at the moment, so don't like quote me on like saying that he's bad. But he's definitely not like one of your first priorities. Like you're not really going to build a team around Red Hood. I think he's more of like a niche endgame pick that you can kind of, use in certain situations. So I would say he's more of like an endgame pick or maybe a character that you invest in when you don't really have a whole lot of other characters that you want to invest in. Robin, at this point, I would say do not invest in Robin. His damage just isn't amazing anymore. In the very early stages of the game, like, yeah, his damage is pretty nice, but he really doesn't have any use outside of like the earlier stages of the game. Yeah, he just doesn't have the damage. His badge kind of needs a rework as well. We're hoping that like Robin gets some kind of like Brother Eye update pretty soon, where he like his whole kit gets changed. But for right now, I would say don't invest in Robin. I don't feel like he's really going to be useful after a certain point in the game for you. And it's kind of just bad to put resources into him right now. Carol, I would also say Carol, don't invest in. Her kit has been bugged since like the beginning of the game. Even like in the alpha stages of the game, just not working properly. She's not scaling properly. Her basics aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So like until Carol gets fixed, or if she ever does get fixed, I would say don't use her. I have seen some people use her in certain situations, but again, with the kit being bugged and not really working properly, we're not really getting a whole lot out of her. So, definitely don't want to invest in Carol if like, like she's kind of just like a niche use if you are investing in her. So I would say don't invest in her. It's kind of a waste. Now, Starfire. Okay, so Starfire, again, if you're building the burn team, I think Starfire is going to be a third priority. She can do really, really well in the burn team. She's basically an anti-tank where she'll do a lot of damage to the tanks in the front row, and can potentially like completely destroy them. But yeah, definitely a third. She's not like super needed. You need to build out a lot of other characters before you build out Starfire, but like she's okay and you'll be able to use her at some point. But definitely not one of like your first or second priorities. Like the rest of these characters, they're kind of just like, they'll be good in certain situations, but like you're not gonna, these characters right here aren't gonna carry you in the beginning of the game. as where like these characters will. Superboy. Okay, so Superboy, I believe, should be a second prio. So after you get that first team built, and then you decide that you want to, like, maybe you want to build the burn team, you're definitely going to want to max out Superboy like right away. He is the synergy carrier for the team, although if you are using the Mr. T team, you're going to be using Mr. T synergy instead. But Superboy does a lot of damage for like absolutely no reason. He has incredible counterattack rate, and the counterattacks have a chance to detonate burns that are already on the enemy. So if you do plan on building out the burn team, which I think everybody should be like looking into the burn team, they're just so good. Superboy is definitely going to be like a second priority for you. He does a lot of damage. His ult is actually pretty decent too. But you're mainly just using him on a burn team for counterattack damage, and that counterattack damage is crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, Superboy definitely a second priority after you've got maybe your first or second team built out. Maybe start looking into Superboy. The Penguin. The Penguin's kind of interesting. I would say he's kind of a third priority. He's really only useful in the poison team right now. We don't really have any other uses for him. I mean, you could even argue don't invest if you aren't like building the poison team. However, I have been building the poison team, and he does pretty good inside of the poison team. So I would definitely say he's like a third priority. He's definitely not going to be like one of the first characters you build out completely. He relies heavily on his badge 30, and even then, he still feels kind of squishy to me. So like if you do plan on building the poison team at some point, which, you know, if you're doing Cheshire and Poison Ivy, you're probably going to be building him anyway. But you know, I don't think he's like going to be one of the first characters that you fully invest in. And he still feels kind of squishy. So we're still trying to figure out why he feels so squishy. Maybe his stats just don't scale as well as we thought they would. But yeah, so Penguin definitely a third priority if you are building out the poison team. If you're not building out the poison team, I would just say don't invest in him. Two-Face. Okay, so Two-Face is very, very good, but he's only good at endgame. You're going to need his badge maxed out. You're going to need him rank 10. And until you get him there, he's just not super useful anywhere. But once he does get there, like you put him in the front row, he's giving your front row characters a massive damage reduction. If you put him in the back row, he's giving your back row characters life steal and a massive like 18% damage amplification, which is crazy. So Two-Face definitely more for, I'm sorry, that's don't invest. He's going to be definitely used for endgame a lot more than any other time in the game. You can kind of use him a little bit here and there, but he's definitely an endgame character that you're going to want to build for the endgame. Vigilante again. I'm going to pair him with Judo right here. They're going to be good the more you invest into them, but they're definitely not going to be one of those teams that like just skyrockets your account right away. They are very, very good. You're going to be like the fragile debuff is really good as well. I mean, you could technically argue that like if you have both of them and Peacemaker, that like it could be a second priority team. However, the team kind of lacks some survivability, which kind of bothers me a little bit. And without like, you know, other characters that are gonna like support them in a way, the team kind of dies really quickly. But they are very, very useful in like end game bosses or like event bosses, things like that. So I would say they're definitely a third priority after, you know, you maybe built your first and second team and are kind of just looking for a third team to fill a spot. I think Judo and Vigilante are pretty dang good. Vixen's kit is balls. I'm just being honest here. She's just not very good. Even after playtesting her, after her rework, she just doesn't feel great. If you are going to use her, it's going to be like in the beginning stages of the game, like before maybe you get John Stewart or something for the block team. But I mean, as soon as you get Jon Stewart, like the your block team's going to be pretty set up. So like Vixen just becomes like completely useless after a while. She doesn't scale very well. Her badge still needs a freaking rework, which they adjusted the stats on it, but I think the whole badge just needs a rework because like it's just not really doing anything for her survivability. I mean, she wants to be a front row character but can't survive. So Vixen is definitely going to be a no-go, don't invest character for me. Weasel. So I've heard some crazy things about Weasel. And that like after the rework from the last Brother Eye updates, like he does a crap ton of damage now. The only problem I'm finding is having like I'm still trying to figure out like where his place in the game is because like he doesn't really fit anywhere. I mean, you could argue that like maybe he's an endgame priority character where like you would use him against like the Evil Falls boss, Owlman or something like that. But I mean, realistically, like I almost want to put him in Don't Invest, but maybe he is an endgame priority character. I'm not too sure. If you know anything about Weasel or like you've play tested Weasel or whatever, let me know in the comments below. But right now, I'm probably going to build him up for endgame, like once I pull him, but I'm just having a problem seeing where he's really going to be useful. And the last character is Zatanna. So just Zatanna is completely busted. Basically, you throw her on one of your crit teams, or you just pair her with Wonder Woman. Zatanna is just going to boost Wonder Woman like crazy, and Wonder Woman's just going to nuke. So I would definitely say Zatanna should be another priority character that you're going to build. As far as the characters I think you should build first, like if we're going to order the first priority characters, it would be, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 characters you're going to want to build first. You're going to put a lot of resources into them. You could even argue that, you know, maybe Green Arrow here, but I recommend that you do Constantine. These 5 characters right here, simply amazing. This is going to be basically your first team that you're going to build, and then later on you can branch out to other teams or maybe slot in some characters from other teams into the block team or something like that. But yeah, and then as soon as you get Wonder Woman, you'll take him out and you'll put Wonder Woman there. But these 5 characters are the characters that you're going to want to invest your resources into in the very beginning of the game. And then all your other characters, you know, whatever you pull, you're going to put those into the level matrix and let them scale with these 5 characters. When you are summoning, you're going to want to put Jon Stewart as your desired, and you're going to want to put Constantine as your desired. So these 2 should be your desired. You're going to get these guys from the shops. You're going to basically use all your shop currency to get their shards. And Pandora is also a shard character. So these 5 characters you can build up really, really fast. Sorry. These 5 characters you can build up really, really fast. And this team will carry you all the way up until you need a second team. And then once you get to a second team, you should have a lot more characters unlocked. So you might want to think about maybe a Burn team or the Mr. T team. Whichever you decide is going to be pretty decent either way. So. But yeah, so these 5 characters, definitely your very, very first priority. And then, you know, these characters too, you're going to want to invest in at some point or like earlier on because they're going to help you quite a bit in the earlier stages of the game. Also, these 2 characters are really, really useful at endgame as well. And then your second priority characters, you're probably going to want to try to make some type of like team based off of like who you're prioritizing. So like when we're doing this guide, it's not necessarily saying that like you should invest into all these characters and these will be your like teams. That's not necessarily true. The game is more about like team synergies and stuff like that. But this list should kind of give you an idea about like what is good investment for your account and what is not. So, you know, if you're wasting shards on like if you're wasting shards or, you know, rank up materials on Bloodsport, it's probably not a great investment for you right now. Or if you're still like super early in the game and you're investing in like Two-Face, it's probably not a very good investment for you at the moment. It will be eventually, but it's not at that time a very, very good investment. But hopefully this gives you an idea on who to invest in, guys. If you found this information helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We are super close to 1,000 subs right now, and I would really appreciate it if we could get to 1,000 subs by the end of this year. This game is kind of really eating into my wallet, and I would like to start getting paid a little bit for it. So if you guys could just subscribe and help me reach my goal by the end of the year of 1,000 subs, that would be much appreciated. Other than that, let me know what you guys think about this priority list in the comments below. And yeah, that'll pretty much do it, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I